Who are the favorites to win a national title? Who can legitimately be called a contender? Who has the pieces to make a run to the Final Four? We'll break that all down for you over the next 3 weeks in our Contender series. Last week, we gave you our Final Four sleepers and talked about 6 different Final Four contenders: Louisville, West Virginia, Villanova, Wichita State, USC and Miami, that are just flawed enough that we can't call them contenders. There is a pretty clear-cut delineation between the 4 or 5 best teams, the clear national title challengers, and the rest of the country this season. This week, we will be taking a deeper dive into 5 of those teams. What makes them good enough to win a national title, but why won't they win a national title? After deep dives into Kentucky, Kansas, Arizona and Michigan State, we finish it up with the Duke Blue Devils. More the enigma of Miles Bridges. NBC Sports preseason All-American team Grayson Allen. Chet Strange. Getty Images. Why they will win. Duke is the most talented team in college basketball. Forget, for a second, how old these kids are, the way that the roster fits together, or whether or not there is enough shooting on this team to keep the floor spaced. When talking purely about talent, Duke is a step above anyone else in the sport. It starts with Marvin Bagley III, who may just end up being the National Player of the Year and the #1 pick in the 2018 NBA Draft. And then there is Grayson Allen. Love him or hate him, these 3 things are facts. Allen was a second-team All-American as a sophomore. Prior to his junior season, a year that Allen spent battling foot and ankle injuries, he was picked by the majority of the outlets that do these things as the preseason National Player of the Year. He's healthy now. There's more. Trevin Duval, a projected lottery pick, is the top-ranked point guard in the class of 2017. Wendell Carter, who is also projected to go in the lottery, was the top power forward in the class until Bagley joined the class. Gary Trent Jr., another potential first-round pick, was the second-best shooting guard in the class. Off the bench, there is former 5-star recruit Marcus Bolden along with a trio of former 4-star prospects. Mike Krzyzewski has won national titles with less. And if games were played on paper, he would probably win a national title this season. But, as we learned last season with this very same Duke team, the games are not played on paper. Big Ten Preview, ACC Preview, Atlantic 10 Preview, Mountain West Preview. Marvin Bagley III, Reagan Lund. Duke Athletics. Why they won't win. The biggest question mark, the one that has made it so difficult for so many teams in the one-and-done era to win with a roster based entirely on freshmen, is just how much youth is on this roster. 4 of the 5 starters are going to be freshmen. The 4 bench players that seem destined to fill out the rotation are either freshmen or sophomores that barely saw any action as freshmen. The only true veteran on the roster is Grayson Allen, and if we've learned anything over the course of his collegiate career, it's that there are valid reasons to wonder whether he is the kind of leader that the Blue Devils will need. And, as always, there are going to be questions about role allocation, particularly on a roster with this much talent on it. Marcus Bolden, wasn't thrilled about coming off the bench last season, contemplated a transfer this off-season and then returned to Duke thinking that he would be the starting center for the Blue Devils this year. Wendell Carter committed to Duke under the pretense that he would be slotted in as the 4 in Duke's lineup, allowing him to play away from the basket more than on the block. Then Marvin Bagley III decided he would be going to Duke. Suddenly, those plans have changed. Carter and Bolden are going to be competing for the right to start at center for the Blue Devils, because Bagley will be starting at the 4. He is a perfect fit there. Not only can he step out and play on the perimeter, allowing Duke to continue using the 4-around offense that has been so effective in each of the last 4 years, but he'll make them infinitely better defensively than they were with Jason Tatum, Brandon Ingram or Jabari Parker in that role. What that means is that either Bolden or Carter is going to be playing a different role than they expected this season. Hell, they both might end up there. Final Four sleepers: Louisville, Villanova, West Virginia, USC, Wichita State, Miami. Wendell Carter, Reagan Lund. Duke Athletics. And that's before you consider the shots that Bagley is going to get. There were already going to be players sacrificing shots somewhere on this roster, whether it was Grayson Allen, Gary Trent or Trevin Duval, and I fully expect Bagley to now end up as Duke's leading scorer. Someone is going to have to make a sacrifice, and it's not always easy to get guys to think that is a good idea. But the biggest question mark facing the Blue Devils this season is the same question mark they've dealt with over the course of the last 2 years. Does Duke have the point guard they need on their roster? On the one hand, the answer is pretty obvious. Duval is a potential lottery pick. He's the top point guard in the class of 2017 and one of the top 5 prospects in a class that has at least 3 guys every NBA team is going to be tanking to try and draft. He's 6'3", he's incredibly athletic and he's a talent when he can get going downhill, attacking the rim. On paper, that's a tremendous addition. The problem is that Duval is a score-first slasher with an unreliable jumper on a team that is going to have some issues spacing the floor and is crying out for a facilitator at the point. This team needs Tyus Jones, and what they added is Derrick Rose. That could end up being a good thing. Rose was the #1 pick after he averaged 14.9 points, 4.7 assists, and 4.5 boards while shooting 34% from three for a Memphis team that would have won the national title if he could make free throws. But that Rose's team. Chris Douglas-Roberts may have been the leading scorer and Joey Dorsey may have been the heart and soul of the group, but what they did was built around what Rose was able to do with the ball in his hands. Duval may play like Rose, but that doesn't mean he's going to be as good as Rose. And if he doesn't have an offense suited to his skill set, it's fair to wonder just how valuable he will be in that position. What Duke needs from their point guard is a player that can get them into an offense, distribute the ball and make a play when the shot clock is winding down. Frank Jackson wasn't that guy. Derek Thornton wasn't that guy. Is Duval Trevin Duval Reagan Lund Duke Athletics prediction: Duke is going to be very good, just like they were last season. I know people don't want to hear that, but the fact of the matter is that Duke finished last year as the ACC tournament champion, earning a #2 seed in the NCAA tournament with a valid argument to be the fourth #1 seed despite having a roller coaster of a season that involved 4 of their stars and their Hall of Fame head coach miss significant time with injuries. At the very least, this season will be a smoother ride because I'm not sure it's possible for a season to be more difficult than the one Duke had in 201,617. So what will that turn into? I think it's as simple as this: if Trevin Duval turns into a top 15 point guard in the sport, then I think the Blue Devils win the ACC regular season title and enter the NCAA tournament as one of, if not the favorite to win the whole thing. They're better defensively than they've been in some time, and they should be able to overwhelm teams with their talent. But if Duval struggles, if Duke spends the season trying to figure out an answer to their point guard situation, then I would not be surprised to see a repeat of last season. Questionable losses sprinkled in amongst impressive wins, inconsistency night to night, and the number of people willing to overlook it and pick Duke to win the national title on Selection Sunday anyway.